Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in another of my wonderful interviews. Now, I don't know if you're any of those people who've been watching Clarkson's Farm recently. It was on the mainstream media and all that. But that's about the only programme really that I actually tune into. And I had to log into my son's account in order to watch it. He was very kind. Shush, don't tell anybody. But yeah, 8 episodes of Clarkson making a complete fool of himself. But however, as I've always said watching that programme, it has highlighted the problems that farmers have had. But one of the interesting things I found in that episode is they started to introduce, although not nearly enough, regenerative farming. And that's something that we really need to shout about from the hills. We've got to protect the soil, because without good soil, we're not going to get good food. And a lot of farmers are suffering as a result of that, putting in all these chemicals and what have you. But the regenerative farming is something that is marvellous. Now, exponents of this style and small-scale farming and people who are doing that are, of course, Catherine McBean from the Farmers Food and Farming Alliance. You'll get it right there eventually. And, of course, the bowler-hatted farmer, Mark Byford, both of which are going to join me today for our little discussion about how we can get the message out, ambassadors and all of that. And they join me now. Hello to you. Well, Mark's up on my screen, first of all. So hello to you, Mark.
Richard, good morning to you, sir. How are we?
I'm very well down here in jolly sunny Worthing on the south coast. Well, it's not sunny today. It's actually freezing cold and the cloud is over and they're doing their business up in the skies. Catherine is also there. Hello, Catherine.
Hello, good morning. How are you, sir?
Yes, as I was just saying, Mark, cold, thanks to the strange atmospheric conditions that we all seem to be suffering this year more than most. But anyway, we're going to talk about farming. And have you been following the Clarkson's saga, Catherine?
I've seen bits about it online. He seems to be making the right noises, and a lot of people are becoming more aware of some of the issues, like farmers being paid to not grow food. And that's great. We do need that exposure. But what we also need to do is get active and start getting solutions into place. And that's where PFFA come into play.
Absolutely. And you've been talking about ambassadors to get the message out into the communities everywhere. And of course, Mark is one of those who has been doing that. Mark, what kind of role have you been arm twisted into doing with your ambassadorship?
No arm twisting here, Richard. It's been quite good, Richard. I've taken the time to go out and meet with local farmers, producers. Obviously, we've set up our own food hub and shop, which you came and saw. And that's
going really well, isn't it? I mean, I'm
really
amazed how well that is going.
It shocks me every time I count the money out, and you sort of think to yourself, this is now for such an insignificant little shed on a trailer on a farm gate. You wouldn't think it's possible for it to take the money it is. And I think a lot of that is people kicking back against the system, Richard.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely amazing. And so, yes, so more ambassadors talking about the sort of low-level farm. I'm going to say low-level, but I mean the big farmers, they have problems because they're backed into a corner with big contracts and monoculture, and it's not really helping in the immediate, now when we need it. And of course, they're not necessarily making the ideal food that we want.
No, I think that is the big thing. What's going to come out of all these changes, Richard, is obviously from my side. I've been talking about this now for some time. Obviously, met with Catherine and her team. Now working with them, work with the Land Workers Alliance as well. And there's a lot of people out there, Richard, which are coming together to understand that the food we have been producing, or farmers have been producing, combined with the packaging and the BS that supermarkets want to achieve to get the profits they need to. So what they have to put in it and take out of it from a goodness point of view, let's take the goodness out and then we'll sell it back to you as supplements, for instance. That BS has got to stop. And I think people are waking up to that. I think that people now are understanding the word sustainable, understanding the word regenerative, understanding the word organic. These are not things what need licensing. These are things what just need doing. As Catherine said, this is now the time for people to take action. And whether that's growing your own, whether that's going and get involved in the community project side, or whether that's, going and getting some land and taking the time to, set up a farm for yourself and the community, whatever that looks like, people have just got to now get on with it because we are running out of time.
No, absolutely. And you say get involved with local community projects, and we want to see more of those. I've got involved with My Little Farm, it's called, which is near Ditchling in East Sussex. They've got pigs, little piglets. They've got 2 sows and 2 boars. And we've been digging wallow holes and making shades, scratching posts and all that. And the other day we were out there weeding the potatoes and getting rid of thistles, which seem to be very prominent on that bit of landscape.
Did you chuck them to the pigs, Richard?
Yeah, well, we've put them all. Yeah, they are ready for the pigs. Yeah, they're all in a bin, ready to go to the pigs.
Pigs love thistles.
Do they? Yeah. Oh, well, they'll be well at home with all of that. So, Catherine, we've got to shout this message, and ambassadors clearly seems to be a good method of doing it. What is the role of the ambassador for the PFFA?
So, I mean, we very much believe in it being down to we the people. So, different ambassadors are going to have different strengths, different areas they want to focus in on. But the overarching picture of what we want to see happen is that these ambassadors, regional ambassadors, kind of take a bit of responsibility for their local area. And so some of them are already reaching out to farmers and producers in their local area to find out where they're at. Are they dealing directly with the supermarkets only? Is there room for them to do some support in terms of production for the local community? Are they interested in moving away from the supermarkets and becoming more independent? Maybe they want to move from a monocrop product culture into a more mixed farming approach. The other elements that they're looking at, because again, different groups are doing different things and it's all needed, so it's all great, are connecting with other like-minded people in the local community to get then more feet on the ground, if you like, to then look for land locally, whether it be through the local council, maybe it's a local farmer or landowner who's got a plot that they're happy to rent out or to lend or to give to the local community. Some are looking at other people in the local area who have got big gardens, for example, but maybe not in a position that they can grow themselves. So they're connecting up with these people to see if there can be like a labour swap in terms of products that are produced and so forth. Others are starting to connect with local producers and processors. So that's really key. Because a lot of the food that comes from farm, you can't necessarily take that straight to plate. Some of it does need a very mild element of processing. So they're looking at that. It's what we're looking to do at PFFA itself is we're looking to put together a map whereby we can plot all of the ambassadors so people can find their contact details, where they are and what they're doing, as well as local food hubs. And so that will be coming through shortly. So you'll be able to very quickly identify who's in your area and what they're doing. Can you jump in and support that? Or are you in the next door community whereby you can become an ambassador and work together? I mean, this isn't about competition. This is about collaboration, work together. The group we've put together very, very quickly. It's fantastic. We've got about 30 already, and they're already holding their own Zoom meetings. It is about us not interfering massively. This is about the people, but we'll be holding a monthly Zoom update with them. And if anyone out there is remotely interested or understands the severity of the situation and knows that we all have an element of responsibility to get involved in whatever form we can, please do reach out to us at our usual email address on our website, and then we can hook you up with a team that's already established and guide you through it. These guys are producing leaflets. They're going out to agricultural shows and local shows. They are just doing an incredible job of spreading the word, because raising awareness is key, but also we've got to take action, and that's what they're instigating. That's what they're helping to get started. But again, there's not enough. We need 100 times this many ambassadors across the UK. We all need to step up and take some responsibility. And we'd love to see those numbers grow. And it's almost essential now that this happens. It's not a desire or we'd love that to happen. It's got to happen. It must happen now. And we're also going to be looking to put together a map which will show. We've had some people come forward and say, well, look, I've got 10 acres. I'm not in a position to farm it. Would you guys like to connect me up with someone who can? Yes, we would. Hello, that'd be lovely. So we're going to look.
Does that happen very often, that people have got
It's
land
just
and want other?
started happening. I
Yeah.
think the
Right.
work we've been doing over the last few months has made people start to look at things a bit differently, start to realize
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
I've got some land, I can do this.
Yes.
So what we're doing is going to be putting together a map in a kind of matchmaker situation. So those that are looking for land to farm or to work on can get together with those that have land, but maybe aren't in a position to take care of it themselves, or certainly could do some help and support. So that's coming. But again, there's a cost to this, there's a time to this, it's resources, people, we have no income, we're all volunteers, so we very much rely on donations to support this. And unfortunately that tech does come with a cost, unless anyone out there's got it for free. It does come with a cost, and so we're going to be once we've got the money, we can trigger all this stuff happening.
And one of the problems that, I mean, certainly from our point of view, Julia and I, who are looking to buy some land, the land itself is not so much the issue. There's lots of little plots of land being divided up. But if they're, say, more than 5 miles away from your house, it becomes a bit difficult to get to on a daily basis, and expensive, of course, with the cost of petrol and what have you. And the problem is whether you want to be able to just stay on it. I mean, I know there are the sort of, what is it now, 26 days or something a year that you could camp on the land. But if you actually wanted to live on the land, the restrictions that are put up, is there any way that we can influence the government or the powers that, and you're asking the wrong person here really, but we need to be able to get people on the land so they can live there and produce that food without having to put too many carbon footprint even against getting to the blooming land.
Richard,
yes,
it's interesting. There is certain rules and regulations with inside the planning side. If you keep livestock or birds, anything like that, then you are entitled to be there to look after said animals once you get above a certain amount. You're entitled to live on the land if you're fruit picking at the time. So seasonal picking brings with it limitations to be able to live on the land. So if you set a variety of crops, you might be potato picking, rhubarb picking, apple picking, pear picking, plum picking, strawberry picking, whatever picking you might need to do. There is regulations within there that could probably get people a big percentage of the year on the land.
Right. And is that in temporary housing or in permanent?
I would say temporary, because it all fits into the. Don't get me wrong, someone with a camper van, for instance, or a caravan, who's happy to live in that accommodation would not have an issue to do that for probably 40 weeks a year. And you'd only have to worry about the other 12 weeks if the council complained. If no one complains, you've got nothing to worry about.
Just have to live in a lay-by then.
Yeah.
Go on.
Or you go on someone else's farm and you stay there
and
for 12
rotate.
weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the other thing, isn't it, Catherine? That we're having to be incredibly creative in how we do these things in order to get round draconian rules and regulations, which really and truly do need to fix. To change so that we can fix this country and get back to a more wholesome place.
Well, it depends on your attitude, doesn't it? I mean, I think the time is coming personally when enough people are going to want to step outside of the matrix, step outside of the constructs of society that we felt we're forced to live within, because they make it very difficult otherwise. And again, it comes down to a numbers game. For me, we reach a point, and it will come where enough people say, I don't care anymore. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And if there's enough people doing that, what on earth are they going to do to stop it? That there's very little they can do to stop it. It might start with, we have to be in mobile units. It might be another thing. You can live on the land if you're producing charcoal, for example, and it doesn't take much to set that up. And there's no boundaries, as far as I'm aware, of how much charcoal you have to produce. I could be wrong. That could have changed. There are ways. And we do have to be creative, but it does beg the question: at what point do we say enough? At not what point do we say no? We're not playing these games anymore. We're trying to feed ourselves. This is our natural, God-given right, is to be able to feed ourselves, and we're not harming anyone. We're not causing destruction on the land. We're not being in any way toxic or damaging to the world around us. And common sense has to kick in. And we've seen over the last few years, we're moving in that direction. More and more people are becoming aware of their sovereign rights. They're becoming aware of the ridiculous control mechanisms that are in place. And very soon, people are going to start flipping the bird at those and saying, nah, not playing that game anymore. And once you reach a certain peak number, and I don't know what that is, but I know I'll feel it when it comes. Once you reach a certain peak number, enough people are going to say, no, sod it, we're doing it anyway, and are going to carry on regardless. And I'd love to see them enforce that at that point. But this is a battle. It is a push. We're not here breaking any laws. It's very important that we understand we have every natural right to feed ourselves. We have every natural right to grow food on the land around us, as long as we're doing it in a natural and supportive way. And the more that people realize this, the more they're going to have a lot of trouble enforcing it. I think they're going to try and throw the bird flu thing in the mix soon. I think that they are using that as an opportunity to eradicate the number of poultry we keep, but not only the poultry. If you look at the stories, they're alleging that this can be passed on to cattle, and that's what they're after. I don't think they give a stuff about the poultry quite so much. I think they're after our livestock. And as a result of that, we may have to push back even further. I've kept a little campaign in my back pocket for about 3 years now called Guard the Gate. And should it be necessary, we might have to pull that out the bag. They are not touching our livestock and our poultry. But sure as heck, they shouldn't be touching anything that we grow or we rear ourselves, as long as it's been done soundly and ethically. So things are changing, times are changing, but it's important that we all find our role in this and we all get actively involved, because it isn't going away by just sort of sticking our fingers in our ears and hoping for the best. It's absolutely something we should address. But this year has been phenomenal. You know, it's been a massive shift in people's mentality, a massive shift in people's activity through PFFA Grow Your Own. I mean, we've got a Grow Your Own membership that's just come out. Go and have a look at that. People really want to get actively involved, and that's the great news, is how aware people are becoming, how proactive they want to be. And like these ambassadors, I thought we'd get 5. We've got 30 straight away. Fantastic. But we need 100 times that number spread across the UK, to make these connections, to make these links, to bring people together, to find the solutions, to put the infrastructure in place. And whilst that might seem overwhelming, if everyone just takes responsibility for their little area, their little community, that local action will have a national impact, which will penetrate and ripple out. And it'll end up going across the world, I think, as people start to realise just how powerful they are, and they can lawfully grow their own food and help supply others around them.
Well, I've been reading a book on pigs, because I've been working with pigs recently, and I love pigs. They look great. And one of the things in the book it was talking about is, you know, if you've got a couple of pigs, that's great. You're going to have plenty of meat for yourself, and you might sell a little bit to a few friends and family. And then it talks about, well, you know, you might get so ensconced in the hobby that you want to buy several more pigs, and you find that you can sell it to a few people. And then before you know it, you've got some sort of business. But have you got the customers to support that business? Because, you know, each pig is quite a few customers that you need to suddenly add to the mix. So it made me think about, well, people want to do all this stuff. Where can they get, once they've grown the food, they need that outlet. They need somewhere so that the people who are busy with other things in life, who are unable or can't grow food or don't want to get involved or want a bit of a pig and a cow and a tomato, we need other places to sell it through. And I know that you've been talking about hubs for this as well, Catherine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Mark's probably had more proactive experience in this. I haven't set one up locally myself yet because I'm just so busy at the moment. I need to do it, but absolutely. And these are community run. These are about the people. I mean, but then if the hub feels overwhelming, which it could do right now, it's almost then it's just, again, it's a matchmaking connection game. I know two ladies locally. One rears pigs on a very small scale. One rears lamb. I'd get half a lamb for 50 quid, half a pig for 40 quid. That is incredible. They're still covering the cost it's taken to rear the pigs, but what it does, it means they're supplying their own meat to themselves at no cost. By selling the excess, they're covering the cost of rearing their own meat, so they get their meat for free. Absolutely fantastic. Everyone's a winner. But you can do it that way and start with connections and then getting word out. But you could go and form a hub group and find some premises whereby you can work with local suppliers, be it meat, be it dairy, be it veg, be it salads, whatever it might be, and bring that together at local community level. Work with the community. Who wants to place orders? Right, Bob at number 57, he wants half a pig, so and so, and actually just organise that, bring that together, so that we're bringing more people opportunity to buy from a local supplier. So there's no fixed map or plan of what it has to look like. It's down to you to decide what your community needs, and that's kind of what we're working with. But Mark, I know, has got some thought on hubs, haven't you, mate?
Yeah, well, what was interesting, I put out a video, Richard, talking about hubs and how we'd set up the shop and how we had, sort of been looking at the hub side. And I had inquiries from all over the country from people saying, well, how do we get involved? How do we set one up? What's going on? That says to me that the time is now that the people are starting to wake up. And I think the important bit in all of this is this isn't about Catherine and the team. It isn't about Mark getting involved. It isn't about Richard putting this out on his show. This is about the power of the people. And one thing I would say, you mentioned about donations, Catherine, if everyone who watches this video put £1 in the PFFA kitty, can you imagine the impact that would have? And that's the sad section in this. Unfortunately, we've ended up with a world where the people who've got the money are the ones who are causing all the carnage, and the people with all the actual solutions are left scratching their head on how to resolve the issues with the money they've got available. And that's what I love about the hub side, because we built the shop on the farm here. They had a trailer what wasn't being used. They built a shed on top of it. We kitted it out with and it's now taking sort of £1,500 a week. And you now look at it and you think to yourself, well, hang on a minute, we're just one little village. Imagine if people did this on a village scale countrywide, or on a town scale countrywide, a city scale countrywide. It would pull the supermarket's supply chain and system to the ground instantly. And you don't need a great deal of money to be able to do it. You don't need a great deal of support to do it. I got mine off the ground really, really easily. All right, unfortunately, I work in the fruit and veg wholesale trade, but it was a few £100 to get it rolling, really. Certainly wasn't in the thousands. It's the sort of thing that a community could come together and, could all chuck in £10 a piece around the village and kind of get it off the ground. But what I would say on the back end of that, what would be lovely if people could donate, like I say, even if it's £1 a person, Richard, would be lovely is for us to be, as the PFFA, to be able to assist the setup of those hubs for the point of speed, because I don't know about. I'm going to say pretty confidently here that I'm sure both of you agree with me on this statement, and probably a lot of your viewers as well as mine and Catherine's as well. Time is of the essence here, and I believe that in a very short space of time, and I've been banging this drum for some time now, like yourself, Richard and Catherine. We're up against the timeline that I see by Christmas we will see food shortages, and that worries me as a father, as a grandfather, and I don't want that to happen. What I want to see is the people. We're now in the absolute prime time of growing. So if we grow too much, so what? Pickle it, turn it into jam, turn it into chutney, whatever you need to do. Get the freezers full. Stockpile that food now, and and we can all be involved in that, and we can all be involved in the kind of the setup of this new system. And I think that's what we all keep worrying about. Oh, we can't do this on the land, we can't do that on the land. Well, that's under their rules.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, they may have the money, but we've got the creativity and the skills. They 100%. They don't know how to farm, no. Whereas people like yourself do, and others can learn very quickly, and they don't want to get their hands dirty. And here, the irony is, we want to get onto the land, or we want to be as close to it. So in many ways, this is, although this is a little bit of tyranny coming our way and a fight for food, it is a good place for people to reset their minds about the value of food and what it is they actually want to eat and the health that 100%. It gets. But with that said, we do need to raise the money, and you've mentioned that. And so what can people, they can make donations. So Catherine, presumably you have a funding option on the PFFA so that
Absolutely.
People can sort of support what you do.
Yeah, there's a donate button on there. We are very transparent about everything. None of us are getting paid by this. I mean, Mark and I at the moment, even though we go off and we travel and do things for PFFA, we're even paying our own expenses right now, just because we're so passionate about it. I'm surviving on my own little Just Giving account, just to be able to literally pay the bills each month so I can just keep plowing ahead. This is the important stuff, is what we do right now. And so if anyone can just tap in and help, we want to get these maps off the ground, because then we can literally solve so many issues where people are looking for land. We've got land, brilliant, let's connect you guys up, but the IT costs, they are there whether we want it or not. We'd love to be in a position where we could pile more time and energy into it. I'm the only one who's able to work full time on this because of my Giving account. But we've got volunteers in the background giving all the hours God sends. And I just don't love even be able to give them, a token of thanks. That's the reality of the situation. But very importantly, what we need the funding for is to get these hubs open, to get the solutions out there in terms of infrastructure. It might be that we can help on a local level with that if the funding comes in, because so many things, like even an abattoir, the difference in, at the moment, farmers are having to drive miles and miles and miles with animals in the back who are probably quite distressed by the whole process. We know that their emotional situation at the time can have an impact on the quality of that meat, on the taste of that meat. No one wants to think of an animal in distress. Let's be honest, we're a country of animal lovers. We understand the sacrifice that animals make in order for us to eat. And I know that many of us are grateful for that. And so we want to make this as smooth a process as possible. We'd love to see the reopening of local abattoirs, and we'd love those to be cooperatives, be community owned along with the farmers. And we have a better quality of meat. That farmer knows they're getting their own meat back. We know that the standards are incredibly high. But in order to do that, we need some funding. We need to be able to get these abattoirs open. PFFA have got so many plans, so many ways with which we can help. I mean, I said to Mark not long ago, if we had our hands on this DEFRA budget, we'd be done in a year. We'll be done and dusted. We don't have that funding right now, so we've got to do what we can with what we've got. But if anyone out there is able to help, please do. I can only assure you 100% this is absolutely going to be thrown back into making sure we get these changes moving and we get these sensible, common sense solutions in place as swiftly as we possibly can, because it has to happen. Like Mark said, we're up against the clock. Let's give ourselves maybe 6 months max before we need to have these solutions fully in place. And in order to do that, unfortunately, the reality is that it needs funding. Simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is not just a fight for food. It's a fight against time, as Mark has said. We know that all sorts of things are escalating around the world, most likely manipulated to do things. And of course, it's not helped by the weather manipulation that's going on, which is affecting farmers and has affected them at the beginning of this year with all that rain. So any final thoughts, Mark?
I think from my side, Richard, the importance here is to just get on with it. And people, if someone's got a passion for food, like myself, my big heart desire and passion is all around food as a whole, and not just about the fruit and veg side. That's my big passion. But if someone's got a desire to make sure their kids are fed, their grandkids are fed, then now's the time. Step in as an ambassador, get out and talk to farmers, get out and talk to growers, producers, manufacturers of food. Not the big ones. We're not interested in the shite they sell. We want to get down to the little lowercase, something was produced on a farm in the village, in the small towns and things, and get that stuff out to the public en masse. So, yeah, I think my big thing in all of this is people need to get involved and spread the word. That's the big thing what needs to come out of this. Let's bring the system down, because the system's broken anyway. Let's, at the same time as bringing it down, let's make sure we've got something to replace it with so people don't go hungry. We've got a 6-month window. Make it count.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Catherine, what's the website address so people can know where to go and throw their bank balance at you?
Brilliant. It's the-pffa.org. Not only can you go and donate on there, we have regular blog articles coming up. We've got advice on how to approach your farmer. There's information about the regional ambassadors. We're trying to get as much on there as we can. We want to get these interactive maps on, which will be a massive solution for everybody who's involved with this. So go have a look at the website, follow us on social media. We're looking for volunteers for certain areas, so keep your eyes out. We've got the newsletter where you get even more information. We're going to keep bringing the solutions. We are not going to stop, even if we have to slow down a bit, which we really don't want to do. But keep moving forward. Everyone keep moving forward. If anything, this is now the time to put your foot down a little bit on the accelerator and push even harder.
Absolutely.
And so much support is on the website. So please do go and have a look, and please donate.
Absolutely. I'll leave the links in the description. Thank you, Catherine and Mark, for joining us and telling us an update on all of that. And I'm sure people will rush to their wallets and hand over some money, because after all, we've all got to eat, and that is the most important thing. Everything and drink, everything else. That new shiny car can wait, because if you're just a skeleton, you ain't going to be able to drive it. I'll be back with more monologues and more wonderful guests, of course, but from Mark and Catherine and myself, thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, bye-bye.